Oh yeah. Alright, we're at the Wolf Center waiting. We're in a tour group. Everyone's accounted for except for the rest of our group.
What?
Huh? I don't think so. Maybe back in the day.
Yeah, we're waiting for the There you go. Look at all the caterpillars here.
Oh yeah.
What? Okay.
They're not that type.
I just thought. I thought that's the best.
No, they're not that type.
I thought they. I guess I'll use the rest of them all over here.
No. They're not that type.
This information a little bit later on. Anyone visiting from like outside of the San Diego area? Where you guys from? Just shout it out.
Texas, Florida.
What is it?
Florida.
Florida, all the way here just to see us?
Yeah, of course. The Philippines. Philippines.
Oh wow. All right, better make it good, huh?
Yeah. I'm the farthest.
I know.
Let's go. That doesn't even count now. That's in the state.
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm the farthest.
Yeah, I know you are.
Everyone else still San Diego locals?
Oh, Mom,
San
this
Diego County,
There's no there.
County,
Oh, yeah.
My girlfriend.
LA County. Okay,
I'm not
perfect.
afraid of caterpillars.
Well, those that are locals, I'm gonna like call on you here in a little bit when we start doing a like for an outreach thing. This is it's not like kids looking at me like I'm gonna sell a timeshare or something like that. It's not a big deal. Cool. How many of you guys have never been here before? First time? Okay, cool. Who has been here before? Have we got anybody that
A long time ago.
Yeah, well, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, yeah, real quick, you know,
Newbridge became
I
one.
always like to start the tour. This isn't you guys. I got
Long
to
time
the
ago.
wolf information, but I always
Might have
like
been
to
a different
start
one.
out with saying thank you guys for being here on
Yeah,
a
this one, 'cause you saw one.
perfect Saturday in San Diego.
Was it
You
this
guys
one?
been doing a whole lot of stuff, and you guys decided to come out here and spend time with us. And
Yeah, we saw one.
especially because we're not easy to get to, right? Like we have 24 wolves. Most of our wolves are hopefully either going to go out into the wild or have puppies that go out into the wild. So whatever behaviors those parents have, they're going to pass on to those future generations of puppies. All right, we're going to go ahead and see our first back. You guys can go ahead and follow me this way.
Off we go.
Huh?
So off we go.
Behaviors, he's probably going to hang out in the back, but luckily you guys are on what we call our enrichment tour, so I'm going to be giving them some of their favorite foods, and that's going to kind of get them down here and hang out for a little bit longer here in a second. Yana's up there. Let's see if I see Poppy's probably up in the big grass. Poppy like to troll. All right, so what we're gonna do is, real quick, I'm gonna give these guys a chance. Like right now, they're like I said, they're neophobic, they're afraid to do things. So we kind of all just moved in. Yana came up, looked at us, kind of moved away. We're gonna give it a little bit of time for them to kind of get a little bit more comfortable with us, and then I'm gonna give them some snacks. So hopefully, if I give them the snacks now, they're gonna come up, they're gonna eat it. They're not gonna be comfortable with us. They're gonna run all the way to the tree. We'll start with introductions though. So in this enclosure there are two wolves. We have Yana and we have Poppy. Like I said, Yana was the one that was up here. That was Mom, and her daughter is Poppy. Her daughter's going to be quite a bit bigger, and she's not really going to look like Mom at all. She's going to be mostly white or like blondish of a wolf color. Ultimately, all of these wolves, all of our northwestern gray wolves that we have here, which is four of our 24 wolves are northwesterns. They were all born here except for Yana. We usually bring in about one per generation to kind of spice things up a little bit, right? Genetically speaking. And so Yana was here. We saw a picture of Yana from a facility in Montana that was closing their doors. We thought, hey, look at that, like amazing gray coat collar. She looks like a nice gray wolf. All of our wolves had been kind of white or blonde up to that point. So let's bring Yana here She's going to pass on that gray wolf coat color, and all of her puppies are going to look like that. We're going to be done with this white wolf situation. So we get Yana here. She gets along great with the male she's going to be introduced to. His name's Wintu. They get along great. They breed. She gets pregnant. She goes through the whole pregnancy. She goes through the whole delivery. Everyone comes out healthy, but wouldn't you believe it? All the pups end up looking and acting just like Dad. So now we have 3 white wolves and Yana, who's also the smallest. They're all big and white, just like Dad, and she's small and gray. Yana's actually the smallest Northwestern gray wolf we've ever had here. Northwestern gray wolf we've had here since 1977. She is the smallest, about 75 pounds, so really small. Northwesterns, their range is going to be about 70 pounds to about 120 on the top end. Most people think it's going to be actually bigger than that. Most people are like, I thought it was going to be like 200 pounds, 300 pounds. And that would be really unfeasible for a wolf just because of their hunting strategy. The way wolves hunt is not the way a lot of other big predators hunt. Now when you think about apex predators, big like land-dwelling predators, what are the creatures that get a lot of play in like Animal Planet and stuff like that? Lions, hippos. They're bears. I was thinking cheetah. Cheetah gets a lot. The fastest land animal. I would have an 8-year-old kid got to pick any animal to do a report on. Pick the cheetah. Not that I'm taking it personally or anything. But what they are, the big cats, they're what we call ambush predators. So they do need to kind of weigh a lot. So the ambush predators, you know if their hunt is going to be successful in about a minute or 2 or maybe 5. Right? Did they get it or did they not get it? Wolves are what we call exhaustion predators. They're going to try to run down their prey for miles and miles and miles at a time. And when they do that, what they're doing is they're just exhausting that creature so that way it's not going to put up a fight when they go in for the kill. So think about the prey that the wolf is going after. It's going to be things like deer. All right, that doesn't seem super daunting, right? Especially if it's a doe without a rat. All right, getting a little bit bigger now. Moose can put its nose right up there where that fence line is. A bison. At the height of their powers, they're going after the smallest, the weakest, the sickest, and they still need to control that creature before they take it down, even as a pack. So these guys, they're just running for a good portion of their time on hunts. And people always ask, doesn't that make them happy? I'm like, that's what I feel like cavemen did that, but we all appreciate like Uber Eats and DoorDash and stuff like that. We'd rather have it delivered if we get the option. But that's how they do it in the wild. And still the range of success, only about 20%. So it's not very, imagine running for 15 miles and then it gets away. Yikes. That's a lot of calories. Survival is right on a cutting edge, right? During the winter time when you really need that food. That's why they're not really quite as big as what most people think they are. They're not going to be the 300 pound. Yeah, do you have a question?
These like disguised as foxes.
So what would that mean? We put blue in it.
A lot faster.
She would
Yeah,
tear
they're
that
trying to camp
out here.
it, laying wait, and really get it. They're not going to prolong it. The wolves, what they'll do is one member will chase it slowly, and then another member will chase it slowly, and then they'll use the pack to their advantage. Now, I'm going to see if I can't get some of these guys to come down a little bit from the couch. Classic. All right. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be giving them some of their favorite foods. Ground beef. All ground beef. Isn't that small? So usually when we get it out and we start moving it around, they'll come on down. I'm going to give it to them a little bit slow. I'll just be giving it to them in meatballs. Now when they come down, what you're going to see, especially as they start getting the food, you're going to really start seeing some of the different dominant behaviors that the wolves are going to exhibit. One way that you know a wolf is a dominant wolf, everyone's heard of like alpha wolf, right? It's like it's definitely a term that's like caught on. We don't really say alpha anymore, but we'll get into that in a little bit. You're going to see the dominance displays by the wolves. So see if you guys can figure out which wolf is dominant. Things you're looking for: tail up, head up is a dominant posture. Tail down, tuck, head down and tuck. There's gonna be those are gonna be just it sounds very very easy, but we'll give it a shot. Let's see. And I'm gonna see if Poppy can hear me. Poppy!
See that arm?
You know I'm doing it. Right? I'm gonna go over to the, I'm gonna actually go over to the table so you can see me. Poppy!
Oh, there's Poppy. Oh my god. Look at Poppy.
So here we go. So you can see it right away. Let's see if we can notice any dominant behaviors. So Yana's tail down, Poppy's tail kind of up. Look at her head. She's checking all of you guys out. Looks just like Dad. You guys don't even know what Dad looks like, and you already feel it deep in your soul. She's like, yeah, looks like her dad. Takes after Dad, right? So now I'm going to try to give some to Yana, because if not, then Poppy will never let her have it. Poppy is the dominant wolf. A lot of people are surprised to hear that, even though Yana is mom. They think, oh, why is Poppy the dominant wolf? It's like everyone at one time has that conversation of, you know what, Mom, I think we're going to do Thanksgiving at my house this year. It's kind of passed down the mantle. So I'm not going to give it to them all right away. I want to kind of hang out here.
Look at it. Did you get that one? That's too cute.
Okay, I could take your wolf out for you.
Oh my goodness.
Now could be.
Most of our neighbors will. By the school.
Don't people have like half dogs?
Yana weighs about 75 pounds. Poppy here, she is about 90 pounds. So she's about average. Poppy was born in 2018, so she's about 6 years old. That is about as long as they live in the wild. I always use these are the type that are very synonymous with Yellowstone and the Yellowstone reintroduction that occurred in 95, 96, and 97. Inside Yellowstone today, there's about 80 to 100 wolves in the park. Their life expectancy is going to be between 6 to 8 years. About 3 miles surrounding the park, the life expectancy of those wolves is about 3 years. Our oldest wolf we have here is not actually a Northwestern, it's a Mexican, but 16 years old. We've had a couple that have lived to be 17, so life is pretty easy here for the wolf.
Come this way.
No, you're going.
Oh, there's an easier one there. Oh, Mama smells this one. Right there, you're hot.
You see,
really
just
hot.
out here. Like, how
You're
are you
really
doing?
hot.
So
You got it.
Nah.
No, so what we do, that's a great question we ask. How do we feed them? Whenever I asked everyone who's from around here, this is going to be my outreach moment. One of our biggest things that the wolves love, and we get a lot of it, roadkill deer. So the best thing you guys can do for us is just take deer with your car. I'm kidding. But if you see one on the side of the road, you can give us a call, or you can call Highway Patrol, and guess what? They're going to call us. If you call them, they might even bring it up. But if they might also call the mountain lion people. So we don't want to do that. So you guys can give us a call, we'll come out and get it. Especially if it's about a half hour from here, we'll do that. So they love roadkill deer. And the good part about that is we can feed a whole carcass, and so they can get the organs and things like that. We get a lot of donated fish. On Thursday, we got about 1,000 pounds of fish donated from SeaWorld and the United States Navy. They do their marine mammal training program down on, in San Diego Bay. So if you guys right over on Shelter Island, they've got all those dolphins and sea lions. And so if they've got this extra fish that's going to go bad, they know we're going to feed it out quick. And so we got 1,000 pounds of it, a little over, which is good because all of our wolves, all 24, we feed about 1,000 pounds of food a week. So we get that about every 2 weeks. We also get horse donated. And so on my day off, which was Wednesday, we got a horse that was donated, and they got it bagged up. We not feed it out whole carcass. And so on We buy a lot of chicken, and so they get a lot of chicken as well. Stillborn calves, I think over here, if you guys look, let me take a look. It looks like if you guys see kind of the red meat there on the edge.
Mama found it.
That is, I think it's probably a stillborn calf or quarter calf. So we get those donated a lot as well. So a lot of what we get is donated, but we do buy some of the food. So these guys get a lot of chicken. Still, if anybody knows anybody willing to bring a moose up the mountain, Now, anybody have any dogs that are like, these guys look just like my dog? Who's got a dog that these guys? Oh, I knew it. I knew somebody, right?
Oh, he doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it acts like it. Yeah. Yeah. So I always like to say there's a few things that I always like to working here. You get people send you pictures of wolves all the time, or what they want to know: is this a wolf? I think I saw this in nature. Is this a wolf? Typically, it's going to be a coyote or a dog or something like that. But what I'm looking for in the picture, the first thing you're looking for is what's the tail position. You almost never see a wild canine with the tail above the backbone by itself in the wild. It's just not, does not happen. So if you like take your husky that's got its tail up and curled, that's a dominance display. The husky's gonna figure it out real quick if it ever went in there. Because that's just how they communicate, is by that body language. They haven't evolved to live near humans to show them signs of, hey, I'm happy, right? These guys are a little bit different. The next thing you can look for is their ears. These guys' ears actually are pretty rounded off at top. They're not quite just, they don't come to a nice point. They're pretty rounded. Another thing you're looking for is their shoulders are up underneath their body. So their chest is actually really narrow compared to a dog, which is going to be more broad, and their paws are going to be front and forward, versus a wolf's are going to be more splayed. And so those are just a few things that you can look for. Size, but in a few of these pictures, do you ever really see anything that you can accurately gauge size with, or distance, or anything like that? That's a tough one. However, if you see any tracks, when people send them like, hey, do you see any tracks? Because the tracks will do it too. Anybody ever let their dog out after it like rains or in the snow, and you just see tracks all over the backyard, and it is just chaos. Anybody notice that? You can probably like have that mental image. If that was a wolf, what it's probably going to be doing, walking in a straight line around the perimeter. Right? Kind of more or less over and over and over again. Wolves move in more straight lines than dogs do, and wolves will not approach something novel in the landscape. They'll be afraid of it. So they'll walk in a straight line around that and keep moving on. Versus the dog, who's evolved to live with humans, walks in a lot of zigzags, unpredictable patterns, just like humans. They just look just like me, sitting your feet back and forth, right? Just like all of us. So that's kind of how dogs will move. So if you see tracks, you can even kind of guess a little bit about what it is. Also, as you guys watch, if you watch for Poppy's, if she walks in a straight line, typically her back paw is going to land in the same space as her front paw, especially when she's stalking. Right now she's got her eyes on me, so she's doing a little bit of a side step. She's like, just throw it, just throw it, man. And so that's just a little bit about kind of the identification. These guys, their habitat is going to be mostly the Great Lakes. There's a lot of them, think Minnesota, all the way along the Canada border. Idaho's got a lot. They did a reintroduction at the same time. They didn't get all the play that Yellowstone did, but it was similar time. More wolves, I think. So Idaho's got a lot. Washington, Oregon, and these guys are actually now pushing back down into California. Right now, there are about 45 northwestern gray wolves in the state of California. There are 6 confirmed packs north of Sacramento, and there is 1 confirmed pack in Sequoia National Park, 200 miles further south than all of the other packs. If you look at that, what you see is a really big cluster of wolves up north, and then 1 pack all by itself. And then the only thing in between there is Sierra Mountain. So I don't have any proof of this, but my guess is that there are a lot more that have not been discovered. But right now there are about 45 to 50 confirmed wolves in California. I don't know the exact count. Sometimes they're going to be in Oregon's count. If they spend 75% of their time up in Oregon, then they're in that count, not our count. They try to get collars on the ones that they can get. So the one that was the most recent pack, the Yalumni pack, that's in Sequoia, I believe that they were able to get the 2 adult collars, and then they've confirmed I think it's 6 puppies that they have. But I think I
See you next week. Okay, that's cool. Shady.
Emma sometimes lays down in the back over here.
Over there in the corner. Okay, there you go.
Oh, there she is. She's in the back. She's just a little flatter. So I see all 3 of them. There's one right here on the table, and there's one laying down, and there's another one laying down. Whenever I give them the food, they're going to get up and a little bit more rambunctious again. So we'll start with introductions again. These guys, it's a little bit harder to tell who's who when they're laying down, because in the Mexican gray wolf world, there was only 13 of them in the 1970s. They're from 3 distinct packs. They were all rounded up, and they did a DNA study, and only 7 of them were unrelated enough to start a breeding program. So they all look pretty much the same because they all descended from those 7 individuals. So I'm going to do my best, but just know I reserve my right to say which one is which. So it looks like right here on top of the table is probably Thor. His brother Durango is the one laying down closest to us. And there in the back is their aunt Emma. But Thor and Durango might be switched. It might be Durango on the table and Thor on the dirt. But I think it's Thor on the table. He's usually a little darker. Durango looks just like him, but he's a little bit more washed out on like around his shoulders and haunches. And Emma looks quite a bit different. You can tell which one she is when she comes up. She'll be much smaller, and you'll be able to notice. These guys, they're going to be a little bit different. What we just saw with the Northwesterns, that was going to be the tallest subspecies of Northwestern gray wolf. These guys are the smallest subspecies of Northwestern gray wolf. Their habitat is going to be different. That's why they're so small. They've evolved to live in a kind of a, not totally desert environment, but they can survive better in a desert environment. So most things that are in the desert are going to be smaller, but most of the time they're going to be kind of about this elevation. We're at about 4,500 feet. If you guys kind of look at a topographical map, their area of existence today is going to be Arizona, New Mexico, like Apache National Forest, Gila National Forest, and that's going to be kind of about our elevation. So these guys, this will be pretty good for them actually, which is one of the reasons why we decided to shift our focus to these guys in 1997. A few of the other attributes that they've developed, sort of the characteristics, they got bigger ears. You can see Durango's ears are just kind of big as he's laying down right here. They've got smaller paws, since their paws don't have to act like snowshoes whenever they're hunting and kind of being on so much snow. They don't want it to absorb so much heat from the hot desert sand, so they're smaller. And like I said, and they're just like smaller individuals. They also are going to be much more, their coat color is going to be like light brown, dark brown, black, and they're going to look quite a bit similar. There's a lot of variation in the Northwestern coat colors. These guys look pretty close. Our wolves that are off exhibit, the 17 of them over there, could not tell you which one is which. Absolutely could not. Don't try. Couldn't do it. Number one, I don't see them enough because even I'm not, they don't want to, It's not just you guys that don't get to go back there, right? We want to try to keep them as wild as possible, so I can't take my legs over there. Hanging out with the wolves is not one of the perks. Yeah, so that's going to be a little bit about them. Their area of operation, or their habitat, kind of where they are now, is Arizona and New Mexico. Historically, they could have been extended all the way over here, like I said, kind of through the Mojave Desert, sparingly, but into Riverside County, all the way down into Mexico City. And so there are reports of them going all the way down. A lot of different Native Americans have different words for the wolf, the Navajo, the Pima. They all have, I'm not going to this they all are an important part of their cultural history and heritage. We shifted our focus to these guys in, like I said, in the mid to late 90s, around 97, because their numbers were becoming more and more dire. At that point, you guys can get up here. What are you doing? I don't need this time. I've seen them. We'll get these guys a little bit. First of all, I want to see. I'll go into why we did it first. I'm going to give them a little bit of extra. So we're going to get into how we breed and release these guys and kind of that mission. But we did sperm collection on our wolves back in March. And so in order to collect the sperm, you have to flush the bladder, and the wolves are unconscious. And what do you do with all the stuff you flush from the bladder? You make the interns put it in a bottle. Molly was there. It was actually me putting it in a bottle. We all did it, yeah. And so one of the best things you can give, one of the best gifts you can give to any canine is a new smell. You know what these guys kind of like? Urine. They like bull urine, like elk urine. But what they really like? Wolf urine. So it's a random stranger is going to be entering their habitat. Now here's my expert opinion for anyone that might be spraying urine out of a spray bottle. Make sure it goes in like a straight line and not a miss, because then it just hits you, and then you really smell it on your ride home.
That's cool.
Yeah. So let's see. These guys might we've had it for a little bit.
Oh, there he goes. Oh, well, there you go. Oh.
That was rude.
That was rude. I know it was me. Was that necessary?
Now, if they mark this bull right here, you might be in this black zone.
Others don't care.
They spray. Do they do that little thing like the top
Others don't care.
They're all tired.
Oh, there he goes. Just marking?
That guy's taken care of.
Okay, done.
Yeah, he's like a mad.
The other one is so lazy. Look how lazy.
And that looks like a boat. You're right.
Oh, and they're gonna go mark. It looked like it just told them, hey, go mark it.
So now here comes Emma. So Emma is actually the dominant wolf in this enclosure, even though she's the smallest wolf. So the ant, is the smallest. Now she's the dominant wolf, and the other. So basically, in their world, an intruder has just come in, marked the territory, and then one of the males that's not the dominant wolf is marked over, and she's saying, "Wait a second, guys, this is actually my territory." And so now she's going to remark over. Now let's see if. Sometimes they just get on this carousel of remarking and remarking and remarking. But notice both of them, their tail positions is kind of like rigidly out. That's how they're communicating with each other.
Next one.
I was thinking, okay, I give up, whatever, you can have it. So that was right, that was Thor. Durango is still the one, which is surprising. Usually Durango is the most scent motivated of all the wolves. But he's also, Thor, his brother, is the dominant male. Emma is the dominant female. They kind of think they're a couple. So during breeding season, it's usually Durango that starts all the howls because he's lonely. Yeah, so he's a staff favorite for that reason. I don't have favorites. Say what? Oh, I'm not sure. I think Kevin's fine.
Look at the age.
So these guys, like I said, in the in 1970 or in the 1970s, their numbers dropped, and so there was only 13 total individuals, and only 7 of them were able to start a breeding program. So the breeding program goes on. By the time you get to the 90s, not a whole lot of movement had pushed forward. By the time you get to even 2012, the numbers at that point were still like 50, 60 wolves in the wild, and so it's really, it's really not working. Our strategy at that point had been to release adult wolves into the wild. So we were taking breeding pairs, and the female being pregnant, and we'd release them into the wild, into like Apache National Forest or Gila National Forest. Gila National Forest is a little bit more area, and we would hope that they would make it in, set up, and ingrain themselves into that territory, and that their pups would then kind of take root. If we had more room to work with, you might release a breeding pair with one litter of pups, with kind of 1 year. That breeding pair probably would not have another litter that year, but what it does is it gives that whole pack a little bit, more numbers to rely on to help with the hunts. And so we did that. But like I said, from 1997 until 2012, you're not getting much increase, right? So basically in 2014, we start a new strategy. You have only maybe 60 of these wolves out in the wild over lots of different, just miles, hundreds of miles. So a lot of times they weren't going far enough to breed, so you would get a lot of line breeding or inbreeding. So in 2014, they did something pretty kooky for the first time. They took wild-born pups from one den, and they switched them with wild-born pups from another den. So like, hey, you know what, if they do line breed, it's not going to be the worst-case scenario now, right? It's going to still be a little bit genetically diverse. That went really well, actually. It was easier for them to kind of move them around. They found out some logistics. And then in 2016, we started a new strategy. Instead of doing a wild-to-wild pup transfer, we did a captive-to-wild pup transfer. At that time, we were the largest holder of Mexican gray wolves in captivity. We're the largest supporter of the Mexican gray wolf fund. So if you're going to try out this new kooky strategy of getting these wolves out into the wild as puppies, who are you going to go to? You're going to come to us. So at that point, we had 2 breeding pairs. We had Bailey and Joy, who are the parents of Thor and Durango, and Joy and Emma are sisters. So that breeding pair had 27 puppies from 2016 to 2020. That's a lot of puppies. At that same time, we had another breeding pair, Phoenix and Frida. And they were really because both of those had come to us from the wild. They went to another facility because they got, I don't know all the details. They were, luckily they weren't killed. They were just put in a facility and they got transferred here. We bred Phoenix and Frida, and they had 16 puppies from that time period. So ultimately, in that 4-year span from 2016 to 2020, we had 43 puppies here on site. Now the reason I mention that is because anytime that we choose to have puppies, it's not just like a gut feeling like, hey, you know what would make tours really good? Is if we had puppies. With these guys, it's a little bit different. Since the genetic material of these guys is so rare, since it was only 7 total individuals, we've got to be very specific with who breeds with who. We have to breed diverse individuals with other diverse individuals. So there's an organization called the Mexican Gray Wolf SAFE Program. And SAFE is an acronym that stands for Saving Animals from Extinction. They've got all the DNA on file for all of these wolves in captivity and most of them in the wild. And they say, hey, take Bailey and Joy and breed them together, and take Phoenix and Frida and breed them together. There are 57 other organizations that are home to Mexican gray wolves that are also a part of this program. So any of our wolves can come from anywhere or go any of to those facilities to be a part of the program. So to be picked, kind of back to back, 4 years in a row with 2 breeding pairs is pretty interesting. So let's say that we get picked. They have their puppies here on site. Everything goes great. The way that they do it is in the wild, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife is monitoring all of those packs that are in Arizona, in Apache National Forest, in Gila National Forest, and they're seeing when they start making their dens and when they might start having their puppies. And if our puppies and their puppies are born within about a week of each other, then we can cross foster. If it's beyond that time frame, then one set of puppies is probably going to have a survival advantage and we won't be able to do it. So that's kind of one thing to keep in mind. But let's say, hey, the timing works, we get them. Then what we do is we hand our puppies over to Fish and Wildlife. They go out to, let's call it Apache National Forest, wherever they find that den. They hike them out 10 miles into the wilderness looking for a hole in the dirt. Hopefully they find them. They've missed it before and had to bring them back, and we're raising those pups for the rest of their life. That's kind of how that works, right? These puppies are about a week old. So they're just like really small. They're like a little potato. They're not very big.